Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we're going to challenge a super popular, but honestly, kind of flawed modern myth. You know the one, the whole idea that success is a solo endeavor. We absolutely love the narrative of the self-made individual, right? But what if your community is actually your single greatest asset? We're going to uncover exactly why that is by exploring a really fascinating framework from astrology. So, really think about it for a second. Where do your career gains actually come from? Look back at your absolute peak achievements. Were they truly just the isolated result of your own hard work, burning the midnight oil completely by yourself? Or is there a hidden network, a web of alliances, mentors, audiences, and shared hopes that is actually the thing propelling you upward? Let's dive right into this and look at the ancient system that maps this exact network out. Well, in astrology, this whole hidden network lives in the 11th house. But what's truly fascinating here is its ancient Hellenistic name, the agathos daimon, or translated, the place of good spirit. Let's just anchor ourselves in that concept of the good spirit for a moment, because this isn't just about, racking up a bunch of random LinkedIn connections. No, it's a celestial sector where your social world, your shared dreams, and your professional rewards all converge to literally nourish your mind and spirit. Here is our roadmap for today. First, the place of good spirit. Second, defining your social resources. Third, planets in the 11th. Fourth, we'll bust the empty house myth. And finally, winning the collective quest. Section 1, the place of good spirit. Exploring the agathos daimon in the solar hemisphere. Okay, so looking at the ancient tradition, the astrological birth chart is basically split in half. The bottom is the lunar realm, that's all about the body, and the top is the solar realm, which is the spirit and the mind. The 11th house sits high up in this solar hemisphere, and notice how it immediately follows the 10th house. This is a totally crucial point. If the 10th house represents the grueling hard work and the career effort you put in, well, the 11th house is the reception of all that labor. It's the audience actually applauding you. It's the paycheck hitting your bank account and the professional gains that follow your actions. Basically, it's the reward. Because planets in this house are rising toward the absolute highest point in the chart. The energy here is incredibly tied to aspiration. Picture this. You're like 3/4 of the way up a massive mountain. You're looking up, eyes locked on the peak you desperately wish to reach. The 11th house represents that exact high aspiration. And even more importantly, it represents the positive support system, the literal good spirit that you absolutely need to finally summit. Section 2, defining your social resources. Activating the power of the collective like mind. So what actually makes up this house? Unlike the 7th house, which is all about one-on-one partnerships or marriages, the 11th house governs your broader social resources. It dictates your friends and alliances, the people who are just naturally on the exact same wavelength as you. It rules your hopes and wishes for the future. It controls those professional gains we just talked about, and it oversees groups and communities. Essentially, this house delivers what the source material beautifully calls manna from heaven through collective mojo. It is literally the house of the like mind. Section 3, planets in the 11th, discovering the helpers on your climb. Now, depending on the planetary energies hanging out here, your networking style totally shifts. Let's look at Jupiter on one hand. Jupiter actually rejoices in the 11th house in traditional astrology. It's expansive, it's super warm, and it brings this huge abundance of fortunate manna from heaven. People with this placement, they're often seen as mentors or gurus, blessed with almost divine timing in their networking. But then, contrast that with Saturn. Saturn's energy is highly disciplined, super grounded, and very deliberate. If you have Saturn here, you definitely aren't looking for a massive anonymous crowd. You are highly selective, building incredibly stable long-term friendships. You might actually act as the administrative anchor of your group. You're the one making the spreadsheets for the group trip. Your gains might be a bit delayed, sure, but they are built to last a lifetime. So, two very different ways to climb the mountain. And hey, the inner planets, they bring their own completely unique flavor to our alliances too. If the sun is here, you find your core identity and visibility by being a community leader or a focal point. If the moon is here, it's highly nurturing. Your emotional security is just deeply tied to your tribe, and your friends literally feel like family. Mercury, you are a master networker, connecting through shared intellect, speaking, and brainstorming. Venus brings incredible social harmony. You likely attract benefactors who just want to help you succeed, especially in creative fields. And then there's Mars, which brings a highly dynamic, mobilizing energy to the whole shebang. Actually, scratch that. I really want to highlight Mars specifically for a second because it brings up a fascinating point from our source material.
With Mars in the 11th, the good spirit is found through praxis. That's the intentional enactment of your ideals. See, Mars isn't just sitting quietly on the sidelines. It's organizing, it's pushing, it's fighting for a cause. Sometimes securing your social resources and reaching that mountain peak actually requires a bit of tension. It requires the raw courage to protect your alliances and aggressively push toward a collective quest for truth. It's a very active, deliberate form of networking.
Section 4. The empty house myth. No planets, no problem. All right, be honest. You might have just mentally pulled up your own chart, looked at the 11th sector, and saw absolutely nothing. Cue the panic, right? Well, let's stop right there. An empty 11th house does not mean a lack of friends or success. I repeat, it does not mean you are destined to be friendless hermit on that mountain. This is a massive, massive misconception. It simply means that your life's core focus might just be more directly aligned with other houses right now, like your personal identity or maybe your daily routines. The truth is, the energy of the 11th house is always right there, accessible to you through a really logical, structured process. First up, you just look at the zodiac sign that sits on the edge or the cusp of your 11th house. Next, identify the planet that rules that specific sign. Guess what? That planet is out there somewhere in their chart, actively managing your friendships and hopes for you. You can also check your midheaven to see if career topics import into this area. And finally, remember the sky is always moving. You can follow the daily transits of planets as they temporarily move through your 11th house sign, triggering brand new alliances and gains. So that empty house anxiety, consider it totally busted. Section 5. Winning the collective quest. Reaching the summit together. So the real core truth of the 11th house is that our individual spirit, it's just intrinsically wired to the wider world. We started this explainer by talking about the myth of the solo climb, but the absolute truth is the mountain of our aspirations is so much easier to climb when we walk it together. By embracing the good spirit of this house, we learn that the absolute most meaningful gains in our professional and personal lives are the ones we actually get to share with our community. Which brings us right to the end of our climb. I want to leave you with this one question to chew on. How are you utilizing your own social resources to reach your mountain peak? Like, are you actively nurturing your alliances? Are you acting as a good spirit for others in your network? I highly, highly encourage you to pull up your chart, find your 11th house, and start intentionally connecting with your tribe today. The view from the top is great, for sure, but man, it's just so much better when you have friends to share it with. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep climbing.